Good morning from McKenzie Mountain, Saturday, 26th of April. Beautiful, beautiful morning outside today. About 45 degrees. I'm actually trying a short sleeve shirt. Got my vest on, but we're trying a short sleeve shirt and just out enjoying the beautiful weather. I've got my AirPod Pro 2s in, working as hearing aids today. So it means that I can hear birds chirping. It's amazing. I can hear voices better for sure with these in. But what I really hear are the other sounds, the birds. I can hear turkeys gobbling down the hollow right behind me. And just things like little clicking sounds. My wife was writing and she clicked on a pen, and the sound of that clicking was very distinct and sharp and crisp. Those sorts of sounds I hear really, really well. When I'm in a room where no one is talking except for like a speaker, the preacher, that can hear that really well. But otherwise, And then the other day I had a weird thing happen with them. We were driving. My wife was actually driving, and so I had them in. I can hear her better when she's driving, and I'm driving and she's driving, either one. And we're in conversation. I can hear the conversation with her much better. I can hear all the other sounds too. I can hear the wind blowing by the car, and I can hear little, things snapping up above our car. We've got a cargo carrier thing, and when you put stuff in it, there'll be little loose straps or something. I can hear those things snapping, but I can definitely hear her better. But the one on this ear was kind of not, I needed to push it in, and so as I pushed it in, there was a click, and then it made some sounds, and then everything turned off. And it took me 2 days to get it really worked out. A couple of things I figured out is there are off, on, and other buttons that just on the sides of these. I didn't even know were there, but they're actually buttons. It's not just, a soft touch, slide up and down, but there's actually something you push in there, and I accidentally had pushed them in and turned them off. I also figured out noise cancellation. If you use the noise cancellation, it does make it where I can still hear videos and things like that, and the room goes entirely quiet. Now there's no sounds, but also I can't hear my wife. It does, noise cancellation cancels out the hearing aid effect, and I've decided adaptive doesn't work for me. I don't like the spatial setting. I like the stereo instead of spatial, and better. And then also, adaptive does not work. Transparency works the best as far as hearing. You do hear other things louder, but the voices definitely work better. And I think partly because it's more consistent. With the adaptive, it tries to turn itself off and on, and goes to this ear and that ear, and it kind of goes back and forth. And so that's a little bit of a challenge to me that way. Still don't think that I have this one set in my ear just right. Anyway, it is a beautiful morning outside. Beautiful today. I've got the chores done. Bonnie, our cow, is fed. I only have one now because we turned Clyde into dinner. He's good tasting too. Bonnie's fed. Cola Bear, my dog, my yellow lab, is fed. He's sitting here laying down beside me. He's figured out he wants to be right behind me, but I don't like that when I'm making videos. And so he's figured out, usually when I'm doing videos, recording videos, it's usually best for him to just sit down somewhere out of the way and just stay there and wait for me. As soon as I get done, he'll be able to tell. When I turn off my camera, he'll be able to tell. Then he'll jump up, and boy, he'll be happy and dancing around and trying to figure out, what are we going to do now, boss? What are we going to do now? It's a beautiful, beautiful day today. Anita, my wife, she'll be going to a ladies' bruncheon at Liberty Baptist Church here in Republic. They have one once a month, a ladies' bruncheon. There's a men's prayer breakfast every Saturday, every first Saturday of the month, and then they call it a fellowship feast, just a potluck every first Sunday of the month, and then whatever week of the month this is, they have a ladies' bruncheon just to get them together and fellowship together, and so my wife is getting ready to go to that. I'm preparing to head to Naches on Thursday and Friday of this next week. I'll be preaching there in Naches, Washington, at the Naches Bible Baptist Church, Pastor Terry Davis. I'll be preaching over there. Probably going to make a trip over to see my mom on the way back. It's not on the way. Where my mom lives in the Tri-Cities is not on the way to Naches and to Yakima. But one of the more major routes that I would take if I were going to go to Naches from Republic comes near enough to the Tri-Cities to make it worth my going there. It'll be a little bit out of the way, but my mom deserves me to go out of the way a little bit for her. I want to be able to take time and spend time with her today. I've got some meat on our Traeger smoker today, making some jerky. Got that going on today a little bit. I always like to take after the meat that's leftovers, the beef, chicken, whatever it is that's leftovers. Since we don't eat a lot of leftovers anymore, that's just not something that we do much. To take that meat, it's already been cooked and spiced and all that, and I just slice it small, and then cover it in salt and pepper, cover lots of salt and pepper, and then put it in that Traeger smoker for several hours until it comes really dry, and make it into a jerky. These will be a little more like jerky bits, jerky bites, more than strips. There are some strips, so most of it will be like jerky bits and bites. And that's just something because of the salt and pepper. When I crave something or whatever, I can snack on that. And I like to snack on stuff like that. A little bit better maybe than leftovers would be. So got some of that. Got that in the Traeger. That'll take hours for it to do. I just put it on just now. So it'll be a lot of hours before that's done. I'll be checking on it through the day, but a lot of hours. I'll probably try to take some time this afternoon maybe while my wife's gone. I'll probably try to spend some time working on the exterior trim on the house. I've got to put some trim around the bottom of the house. There's a keyway there that needs closed off, and so I'll probably work on that just a little bit today when I'm by myself here at the property. Do some of that, and other than that, just a really nice quiet spring day here in April. Incredibly nice outside right now. I was thinking about retirement. I saw where Buzz Retirement Garage, he said, talking about maybe going back to work a little bit, and one of the other video podcasters about retirement kind of responded to that and said that he thinks retirement is when you cease work completely. And I've never really had a desire to cease work completely. I did see an opportunity when I turned 67. I see the opportunity because of Social Security, my wife and I being on Social Security, and our Social Security, when you take into consideration our Social Security and then what we have in retirement and savings, which isn't a huge amount, but between Social Security, retirement, and savings, we do have enough to live, to survive, to live. But I don't want to retire. I call it retreading. I don't want to retire. I just want to repurpose myself, retread myself a little bit, and spend my time doing stuff that I also think is important, that I think has value, especially into the future. But it's probably not something that I'm going to be able to earn a full-time living on. And so, but I don't need to earn a full-time living on it. Because I can basically make enough money, earn enough money from my Social Security and my wife's ours combined, that we can survive pretty well. And then also because my son is the one who bought the property that we're building the house. I'm paying for my own house to build it, but my son owns the property, and because of that, us working together, he and I are kind of collaborating life right now, and joining our economies together. To make this a functioning piece of property, the McKenzie Mountain. And so we're working together with that. And so it gives me an opportunity to spend time doing some things that I see value in, but I'm probably not going to be able to earn a full-time income doing. One of those is my writing, and whether I write any new Bible study books or not, I'm not sure. But I do know that because I've written a little over 100 of them, They're on Amazon, but I would like to take the time to edit them, spend more time editing them, and I've published a little more than 100 of them. I have at least 100 more after 42 years of pastoring and preaching, and the way that I prepared and studied for those, I have at least 100 more that I can publish, but they will require a considerable amount of editing. Once I figured out that there is such a thing as electronic books, and there was the opportunity to self-publish, which didn't exist when I started the ministry in the 80s, through the 90s, really that didn't exist. Amazon came along. I don't remember what year Amazon started, but I do remember when Amazon came on, and especially when the Kindle electronic book readers, and I recognized right away that this is going to be the future. It's going to be and I do believe books, hardbound, paperback, a real book in your hand is going to always have value, and it's going to have a place. But I could see that the future is going to be about electronic books, and it took me a while to be able to figure out how to get involved in it. But I did eventually figure out. I started out with something called Lulu, printing my books in an electronic form on Lulu, and you also had the opportunity for paperback there, and then transitioned from Lulu to Amazon. The transition kind of gets a little bit rough because some of my books were on Lulu and some of them were on Amazon, and then some of them were on Lulu and Amazon, and now I still have some on Lulu, but I don't even go there anymore. So there's that, should I take them off? Should I retire those books, or what's the word for it? Archive those books on Lulu? Haven't ever done that. And I'm not positive. I might still have some books that are on Lulu that are not on Amazon yet. I don't know those things, but I have my books. Just for fun. Now those are Bible study books, and then just for fun, I don't know if this has value or not, but there is value in just having something that works in your brain and your mind. And so then I got the idea of these short story type historical fiction books that I've outlined really already from pre-American Revolution, War for Independence, all the way through Neil Armstrong's Walk on the Moon. I've got them outlined, and a couple of them I've got started. Maybe I'd want to redo those a little bit, but so I think there's some value even for my mind just to be working on those. One of the things I would like to be able to do, because the books that I have on Amazon, I would like to spend more time. I would like to go through the editing process. Once I figured out that I did have an opportunity for publishing, self-publishing, then I began spending a little bit more time as I prepared my messages, because I've always done this. As I prepared messages, I prepared them in such a way that they could eventually become books, published as books. But once I figured out that that electronic publishing was available, self-publishing was available, then I began working a little harder on editing, doing my own self-editing before preaching. Because when you preach, what I do is you want to get down what God gives you, and then preaching, you're not going to read a manuscript when you're preaching. You use the headings and the bullet points, and then I would write out my manuscript because I wanted to be a book at some point. But as I'm preaching, what I'm doing is I'm looking at my headings and my bullet points and those sorts of things. And so then all of a sudden I decided I needed to spend more time on what's between the headings and the bullet points to make sure that I've got that cleaned up as much as possible. So you're never going to get it perfect, but as much as possible without taking too much time out of the sermon preparation and the pastoral responsibilities. Take enough time to make sure that it's at least readable, legible, maybe not perfect grammar, perfect punctuation, perfect composition, but understandable. And I was successful in some cases and not in others. I had some other people have helped over the years to edit my work, and few of them, and almost always they're going to come back at some point and say, all right, I'm looking at a paragraph and I've got no idea what that paragraph says. And sometimes I look at it and say, I don't either. We're going to need to rewrite this because I don't know what it says either. But because I'm not looking at those when I'm preaching, I'm just I'm looking at the headings and so forth. and the bullet points. Anyway, so I've got lots and lots of material that sermons that were written in manuscript form so that they could become books, but they would need lots and lots of editing. I've got, for the first 10 years that I preached, I didn't use computers or typing, or even a typewriter. I hand wrote my sermon outlines, and I did them in manuscript form, but they're all handwritten. And so I've got, I don't even know, there would, if I was to make them into books, that'd probably be 100 books in there at least, and maybe more than that. When you compile sermons together to form the content, the substance of a book, there's probably at least 100 and maybe more than that in there. But that's all handwritten in my sloppy, as I'm getting ready to preach type of note-taking handwriting, which is, now that it's been, the last time I wrote a sermon by hand was like 1991, so I probably can't read those. And so those would be a real challenge to do that. But I want to go through the ones that I've already got on Amazon. And now I've never been able to pay, because I don't charge. I don't want to sell my books for a fortune. I don't want to mark them up. I want to have them where they're in the same price range that a typical book that you'd get would cost. If you went down to Barnes and Noble and you wanted to buy a novel, you might be able to get that novel for under $10. And I want to make sure that my books are all in the same price as whatever you'd get if you're going to go to a store where you've got a book that's been commercially published, and you're going to be able to buy it for that $5 to $10 or $12 range. I want to keep my books in that. Well, if I hire editors and all of that, that's going to mess that up. But now, because of AI, where I think AI can really be valuable for me is in that editing process. It's not, I've been trying it, and it is a time-consuming deal. But I figured out editing is anyway. Anytime I've had people come in to help me edit, that is a major process to get the editing done. So that is another thing I would like to be able to do in this retreading era stage of my life, is just to go through and work each of those books through a process with AI to edit and clean them up and polish them in every way that I possibly can. Maybe change the book covers a little bit, and those sorts of things. That's an area that I feel like I can be used in this stage in my life, working on those books. I'd like to spend time, I call it being an ambassador of encouragement. And the church that my son pastors here in Republic, that I am now a member of, has agreed, and they have commissioned my wife and I to be their ambassadors of encouragement, which essentially means we want to be able to do it without cost to churches and pastors. But essentially what it means is just going. We want to be able to pack up anytime we need to, and head to a church and just hang out there with the while. I don't want to preach. It's not that I need to preach or anything. I will if I'm asked. And I have several preaching meetings scheduled this month. I'm going to be in Naches next Thursday and Friday, and I'm going to be in what's the town? Not Newport. McMinnville, Oregon, in the middle of the month. I'm going to be in Plains, Montana, the first part of June. I'm going to be in Bethany, Oklahoma, in the middle of July. And so I do have preaching meetings scheduled. I've got a meeting scheduled actually out of country in the Middle East, in a restricted access nation. And I'm not going to go there to preach. I'm actually just going there to just try to be an encouragement. And we've got some things scheduled like that. But I want to be able to just show up at a church unannounced, listen to a preacher, bring his message to his people, and amen him and encourage him and agree with him as he's preaching the Word of God. Maybe take he and his family out to eat, and if he's got young kids, spend some time, encouraging and being a blessing to those kids. That's the kind of thing that I'd like to be able to do. as well. Those sorts of things. Those are the things I'd like to be able to do. Well, I think I have spent enough time out here visiting, so I think I'm going to go back inside the house, spend some time with my wife, spend some time reading the Word of God. I'll write out my daily visit with God newsletter, podcast, and blog, get those things done. This morning I'll spend some time on the portal. My mom has it was put out by Facebook, but it's called a portal. It's a video conferencing kind of unit, and she's got that. It has really been a blessing. Facebook has discontinued their support for the portal, and so and I don't think they sell them anymore. So that means it'll work as long as it works, and the Lord willing, it'll work as long as my mom continues to walk on the face of the earth. And so we get to spend that time with her today, and we'll talk probably for a half an hour, just her and I, and it'll look like this. It'll be live, and she'll comment about my glasses. These are brand new glasses, just got them yesterday. She'll comment about my glasses, and because she can see all of those things, and we can talk very clearly. Neither one of us hear very well, but over the portal unit, we can hear each other really well. It's like we're sitting in the same room talking. I'm 6 hours away, but I'll have opportunity to visit with my mom, and I'll enjoy that. So all of you, have a great day. God bless you.